All right, I think we're live. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brian Sims, and this is an interview. Today's date is October 16th, 2015, and today we have the lovely Michelle Caswell. And today we're going
Yeah.
to go ahead.
Nope, just saying yay.
Hey, everybody. And today we're going to do an interview on Michelle's life, behind the scenes, who Michelle is, and also her artwork and what she's been working on. So take it away,
Okay. First,
Michelle.
first of all, I wanted to introduce myself as, I'm an artist and do that stuff. Anyone who's seen my profile can see the art there. And second of all, I'm really nervous because I'm like, I know that people are going to watch this video. I'm like, hey, people out there in the world. So, yeah, that's that's all I have to say. Let's move on to the questions, please.
Let's take me back into the time when you were younger. Take me back to your memories of anything out of the ordinary or things just growing up, especially your elementary school years. What kind of kid were you?
From what I can remember, I was sort of reserved at least a little bit. I didn't really do much, but I did kind of. I met a few friends that followed me throughout my life that were still my good friends in high school. So I had really close friends, and I was really social with those friends, but I wasn't someone to just go out and be like, partying with a bunch of random strangers. But elementary, there's no parties in elementary, but I think you get what I mean when I say like I wasn't like that. But yeah, from when I think back, I just remember me being sort of more reserved kid. But I liked that about myself. So
When you were in school, when you were younger, did you ever get picked on or bullied when you were younger?
uh, yes, I did a lot actually, but it was like a few kids, not like everyone. And I knew I had the support behind me. Parents, my mom is always there for me, and yeah, I was bullied just about my looks, and for a while that made me very insecure about myself. But
Yes.
yes, so
And then moving up,
that
uh,
is such a that question. It's like, tell me, were you bullied? It's like, I hate to even think about it, but yes, I was. Like, mm,
but there's so many people that can relate to that. I mean,
yeah,
I was even bullied when I was younger, but it's just to throw it out there, just something that you're not the only one. You know what I mean? There's so many people who have gone through that too.
yeah,
So it's appreciative of you sharing that. You know,
okay.
it's sometimes it can be difficult, but no, it's wonderful. It's opening up. I like it. The When you were younger, even at those times, the your environment. What was the environment like around the home? Um, did you feel like you could just go off and wander and go into the woods? Were you always thinking a lot? Did you feel like you had a lot of freedom that you could just go out and do anything?
Oh, I definitely did have a lot of freedom. I felt like I could go anywhere, especially in my yard. Growing up, that's just where I spent like a majority of my time. Well, not always, but I'd run like outside and just play like in the rocks and stuff. One memory I have of that is like one time I lifted a rock up and I looked underneath it and there was like a black and yellow salamander there. And I don't know why, but I just like I loved that I like saw the salamander and I think I tried to like pick it up or touch it and it kind of scurried away, so I left it and then I waited for it to kind of move, put the rock back and things like that. And there was a wharf in front of my house and I used to go there and fish. And we had a minnow trap too, and that was in the water, and we would pull it up, and there'd be all kinds of minnows in it. And I always loved like putting the bread in there and like getting the minnows for fishing. Yeah, so I did have a lot of freedom growing up, and I had friends up the road as well. So I would just like go and walk or bike up the road, and they'd be there, and we'd have sleepovers and things. It was a really laid back kind of community, and my parents were really supportive of that. They were never restrictive of my freedom. So
So they pretty much had a good feeling on where you were. You know, it wasn't where you're going miles and miles away. It's always
Yeah,
the environment. Yeah.
there was a lot of trust there, and I'm really almost grateful for to have the parents that I did have and that I do have, because they're really great people, and they never really like shunned me for or like whatever. They never punished me for anything. But
Yeah.
then that's all. Then yeah, but
So far,
yeah,
I was gonna say at least like in elementary school, but
no, there's no like when I think back, I don't think anything. There's nothing bad that I can remember. So
good.
yeah.
Um, Even as a kid, did you ever feel that? Did you ever have any type of paranormal experiences that you couldn't explain, or did you ever see lights in the sky when you were younger?
No,
Okay.
I can't say I have like I just don't recall any of that happening. Though I do remember just like crazy dreams, but I still have those today. So I think that it's anybody can say they have like crazy dreams. So it's
Right.
about it. Yeah.
Take me up to junior high. What was
Oh
it?
wow, we just leaped. Like we were
We
here
can
and
stay
then we
in
just
ele-
woo.
we can stay in elementary years if you
No,
want. If there's
it's
anything else
fine.
you really want to share, yeah.
We can come back to that later if
Okay.
I do have a story in mind that I'd like to share, but that'll be later. Let's
Okay.
keep the mood light because I don't need to get into that right now.
In
Junior
junior.
high, yeah, I don't. That was around the time where my friends from elementary school started hanging out with different groups of people, and then we kind of started forming cliques. Because in elementary school, the kids are just all like they all like each other. Everybody's like, yeah, and you could be friends with anyone. You just go out on the playground and you could talk to anybody, be with anybody. Didn't matter. But once junior high came along, everyone's like, oh, we need our little groups and we have to have our own like little thing. And um, so I had this one friend, her name was Hannah, and she was a really good artist and she loved like anime and things. So we could kind of we became really good friends in elementary, but as soon as junior high came, she like started straightening her hair and like doing makeup, and I wasn't at that stage yet. I wasn't doing all that. So she like found new friends that like to straighten their hair and do makeup, and I was still with like other friends. So I don't just and it was kind of sad at the time. I can't really feel for my past self, but like because it was like an immature thing to be like all my friends are leaving me, but they just all found their own cliques, and so did I. I just remember junior high being the time where everyone separated from each other.
Was it hard to let go some of the attachments with your friends? You know, did you feel like they abandoned you sometimes? You know, did you feel like
Yeah, maybe a little bit. Yeah, now that you mention it, because it's like I think here it was just they were finding they were moving on without me. They were finding new friends, and I felt kind of abandoned because it was like, well, why aren't you wanting to hang out with me anymore? What changed? And
yeah,
there is no explanation for what changed. They didn't provide it for me, so maybe I felt a little bit betrayed or
yes.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, it is interesting because you know you get that feeling because I remember going through junior high and it just felt like it was more of even like a little bit of dating. You know, I think it was in seventh and eighth grade. Some of the kids got to date,
Yep.
and that was like a
So
big step.
that was a whole thing. Like I get to have a boyfriend. Like
Yes, I'm like what?
what is this? I think it was grade 7. I was in English class, and there was a boy that sat beside me. His name was Chris, and we used to like pass notes and give each other like looks. And then I think I was the one that passed a note, and it was one of those check boxes, and it was,
Yes,
"Do you want to date me?" And there was a yes and a no box, and he checked the yes box and then passed the note. I'm like, I have a boyfriend now.
that simple.
Yeah. Yeah, I wish you could do that today. Just pass notes to someone like, "Hey, do you want to go?"
It's much more complicated, isn't it?
Yeah.
But that air, how was the family life then? I mean, did mom and dad did they feel like they had a little bit more control, restriction on you, on who you could see, who you could talk to? Because now you're getting into like, you're starting to have feelings that are, you know, greater than when you did when you're in elementary school, and now you're moving out and you're getting to more of, you know, your teenage years and stuff. What was,
Well,
yeah, how was
oh,
that?
I thought I'd mention my parents got a divorce when I was 8 years old. So
Okay.
I didn't really have the parents involved. It was my mother I was living with. But my dad at that time, I'd see him every second weekend. And so we were still kind of in contact and we constantly like, but he would joke about like no dating till you're 18 or something. And at the time, it's like, no, like I'm never gonna. We joked about that a lot, but um, and what's crazy is like my mom was never really like restrictive of like, no, you can't go date this guy, you can't whatever. But she knew that, like I'm not gonna like marry this guy. I'm in grade 7 and I'm like a little kid to her. I'm just going through this dating phase kind of, and he kind of got me interested in skiing because he's like one of those guys that he was skiing from a very young age. We were
Yes.
starting to have every year there in school there would be these ski trips, and so he kind of and there was one winter when I was dating him that we went to a ski lodge, like his parents owned a ski lodge. So, and mom was always supportive, like, yeah, you can go on a trip this weekend and anything. What's great is she just always treats me like a mature woman, even when I'm a kid. Like I was still treated like I had respect given to me and I would give respect back because that's yeah. But I should mention
Yes.
junior high, it was like we did argue a lot. Like that was the age where like I took everything out on her. I just like, you know,
Were you
uh,
rebellious at all?
yeah. Uh, no,
Did you
no.
sneak
I
out of
see.
the
This
house?
is
Did you
almost
feel
like
like you had,
disappointing because like all your questions, I'm like, no, I wasn't like that. No, and no, I don't think I did rebel because I had friends that would rebel and tell me about what they did. So that was enough for me. I didn't get piercings. I didn't get tattoos. I wasn't like going out to parties and like, I just, I just went home and played games on my computer like every night and ate like McDonald's and stuff. That was I used to be like this is from junior high or back from elementary to junior high. It's like I used to be like really active as a kid and then junior high came and I reached that puberty stage where I just sat in one place and ate a lot and I gained like maybe 50 pounds or something. And so I had really like and then on a just off of that, it was like the bullying that happened, which was grade 6, 7,
yes.
grade 8 until the guy moved on to a different school. I think he actually dropped out this one guy that bullied me a lot,
Yes.
thankfully. But I had like really bad body image issues at that time. So junior high was I relied a lot on my friends to kind of keep me going and they were like a really good support group that I had around me all the time. So
And when everyone was kind of finding themselves or gravitating to different cliques and stuff at school and different groups, even peer groups, what was it that did you start like your upbringing? How about religion? Did you have anything spiritual in your life or a guidance mechanism?
um,
Grandparents, anything that influence?
not that I can recall, no. But as a child, I did go to church a few times. Mom would bring me sometimes, and it's not like we were overly religious or anything. We didn't have like I was never really brought up thinking, there's a God and you do this and like you can do this. I just kind of found that whole side myself. I think that was a way that my parents kind of let me find my own way. Um, but my friends weren't really religious either. There was one guy in our kind of group, and I call it my group because we were together from junior high to the end of high school, and we graduated and went to prom together, and we were just this tight little group of people. And I think that in a way, other groups kind of envied us because we had this close connection to each other, and we would constantly talk, go to school, we'd hang out and do this. But that's not important. On that spiritual aspect, I don't really think it mattered much because we just had that connection between us that no other kind of people had. So and I'm speaking very like generally because these friends aren't people that anybody watching this would probably know,
Right.
but they were all so different, including myself, that it was just crazy. We became friends, like, and we would go through phases together. It wasn't like I would just want to become a different person. I started wearing like eyeliner and like listening to metal, and like just I just thought I was a different person. And other friends would tag along with me, like one of my best friends, Kelsey, would do the same thing. And then we would hang out and we go to school dances, and then we would bring our own iPods and listen to metal music while there was like pop music playing in the background because we were like, no, I want to be rebellious. That was my form of rebellion. I would just be like, no, I don't conform to these restriction. I don't know. These laws are
Yeah, yeah.
it's stupid, but I just I just love that time of my life.
Yes.
And I don't think it needs to be all like negative and bad. But I kind of lost focus there on what the question was. Sorry, Brian.
No, this is wonderful. You're going right into it. You're leading the way. Um, that even in junior high, were you going up into eighth grade? Were you ready to get out of there, ready to leave junior high and ready to start high school? Or was it something that you were like you want to stay in junior high and you weren't ready for high school?
Yes and no, because I really wanted to meet the new people because from junior high to high school there were two other junior highs that merged with ours, plus people that probably didn't go to junior high. Like there were people that were homeschooled that came into high school. Um, and so it was like a big step of like, yeah, there's going to be a bunch of new people I get to be friends with if I can grab them before the other groups grab them. And no, because I became like really comfortable with it. But honestly, I can barely remember my junior high. Like, I just know it was called Five Bridges Junior High, and our mascot was like, I think it was a phoenix. I can't remember, but it was. I wasn't involved in the sports programs then, and really at all. So the schools around here, they fund the sports programs more than anything. Like
Yeah.
art and stuff is kind of set aside. They just love like
They're-
football and anyway. So you can imagine the jocks, like those people, they
yeah.
were super like, oh, they were full of themselves, and yeah, their way was just give death glares to everybody around them.
When
Um,
did you start to really get into and appreciate the arts and crafts? Did you have any musical background, or was it mostly the arts?
nope. It was mostly art, but I did take like courses, and but that was mostly my parents. Like I was like, yeah, I want to take band, and then my dad had a clarinet, and he gave it to me. We kind of cleaned it up, and then I took band, and halfway through, I wanted to quit, but they were like, no, you have to just finish the year. When I did, I never went back into it because uh, that band teacher we had, he was just he would do so many weird things. I didn't even want to be there, and I would sit in the front row, and he always played the trumpet, and he would empty the spit thing in the trumpet, and it would like fall like right next to me, and I'm like, oh, please just don't be here, like go away. And he would just his name was Mr. Stern, and everybody thought he was just so weird. He drove like this really old van that was just creepy, and like no one liked the band teacher, but yeah. As for art though, I just
Was
I
it in
just
junior high you started really getting the passion, the drawing, the arts?
it was it was in well, it was in elementary when I met Hannah, and
Okay.
she did the anime, and I watched anime, and so I'd see her art and I would just be like, wow, like blown away. And so when we started hanging out, she showed me how to do anime, like faces and bodies, how to shape the bodies.
Yes.
But she was always so much better than me, so I didn't really think I'd ever reach her level. But I
So
didn't really let that stop me. I just continued on. That's when it started, and then I always took art courses.
yes.
Yeah.
So you're always practicing in the background, weren't you? Like, even if you weren't in the art
Yep.
classes, also you were just what you would call doodling.
Mhm.
You were just always drawing.
Yep. Um, and I think also the what am I trying to say here? Just even before elementary, I drew as a kid. This is
Yes.
throughout school, yes, and like in art, in not just art class, sorry, in like math or anything. If I was bored, I would just draw on the side of my paper, and And I just, if I go through my notes, it's just every page has like little drawings of things all over. But I don't remember this because I was like an infant child, but there's a whole bunch of drawings. That's why I can look back on it. As soon as I think as soon as I could like hold a pencil, I would just draw stuff. And I loved Pokemon, so I would draw like Pokemon. And at
Yes.
the time, I thought they looked like amazing, but they're really just like blobs. Like I would just draw blobs with ears, and like they would be represented in colors. Like Pikachu would be yellow. In case you haven't noticed, there's like a whole bunch of Pokemon up there.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
So I still like Pokemon, but anyway, yeah, I would just draw all this stuff like as a child, and I never stopped drawing. So, well, in periods in my life I did, but I'm always practicing and trying to improve.
As you were moving into high school, did you really focus more on your art, especially like in art classes and stuff? Did you really, did you even draw some of your anime
Um,
in school, in high
for
school?
sure, yeah. Yep. And I was constantly surrounded by people who drew art. There was a good friend of mine that was just like so amazing that when we got together, we would just draw, and she had these characters. They were anime style. And
Yes.
she was practicing drawing people because she mostly drew animals, but that's besides the point. She just she was just great. She had these characters, they had names and stories, and I would just draw whatever, but she had this whole like elaborate theme going on in her artwork. So I started asking her questions. We didn't hang out of school or even at lunchtime. We would just hang out in art class. And so she became like this art friend. And I knew a lot about her by the way she draws. And I'd always watch her draw, and she like watch me draw, and we would just draw stuff. And so that kind of, there was like a whole other realm to explore in this theory of like just artistic expression. And like she was just, yeah, and a lot of the people in my life have influenced my way of being, like, or I can put that, like, let me think a second. Not just her, but other people have just influenced my inspirations, all that stuff. I don't know how else to word that, but I think I've made the point there.
Yes. Like teachers, grandparents, anything like that?
No, but yeah, well, my art teacher in high school, she was really good, and she wasn't just an art teacher. She taught other classes too, as well as my social teacher.
Yes.
She taught design. I took a design course, and then she also taught English, uh, 11 and 12. So I was in the advanced English courses because like I'm a language fanatic. Like I like writing, um, and so she just I don't know. She was an artist. Her name was Michelle too, and she has all kinds of dogs, and like she just loves her dogs. And we had projects all the time, and I'd always include a dog because she just, and that got me like, I always had such good marks because she just liked me. Like she
Now
anyway.
tell me about this, the writing styles. I always watched this through the years, even when I was in junior high and high school. It's like, how is it that the girls, their handwriting is just amazing. The boys are so sloppy. And
I
why is it
hate
the girls could always spell heck of a lot better than the guys?
I hate
Where did this
my
all
I
start?
used to hate my handwriting. I used to think it looked stupid. Like I hated my handwriting, and I would look at my friends, and they would be like doing so much better than me at the writing. Um I don't know why that is, Brian. That's never going to be answered.
Okay, it's just
It's
one of
just a
those.
feminine thing, maybe.
But it's like, is it back to those secret notes we used to pass among each
No, no.
other?
Eventually, the teachers got smart, and they knew that people pass notes, so they'd watch like the aisles, be like, "Better not be passing notes now."
That's cool. Um, Now let's go up to high school a little bit. Let's
Mm.
start from there. How was it even your freshman year? So all these new students that you're meeting now, did you start to have bonds with them, other cliques, groups that you started forming?
Hmm. Not really. Not really. Like the friends from junior high were most of my friends, and then there was a few additions, but that was about it. And we just hung out like in the same place every day. Sometimes we would like meet outside or something, but we would sit like at the top of the stairway.
Yes.
I had a friend, Ashley. I met her in elementary. Then I moved away when my parents divorced, but I went to a different school, and then I came back in junior high, met her, and then we continued to be friends until high school. Well, still friends, but in high school, she met her boyfriend in junior high, and they were dating into high school. It had been like almost 3 years. And we would hang out almost every day, and so her boyfriend's friends would hang out with us. So those were new friends, and they weren't from our junior high, so I'd never really met them. There were a few from our junior high, but they were mostly from a new school, so that was like new cliques of people. And they loved Minecraft and things of the gaming kind of nature. So we would play Minecraft after school, and then I started playing League of Legends and getting like people to play with that in that group, like gaming.
Did you
But
guys ever get into like EverQuest or World of Warcraft?
no, but a while ago I played WoW with not with my cousin, but she gave me her account, and she's just that. But yeah, I got more into Diablo 3 than anything.
Oh yes.
That was my game to play, and then Torchlight 2 was amazing. Played through that like so many times. Before this, Brian and I talked, and I'm just talking through. If there's anybody out there,
Well, tell me you're a gamer. You love that stuff, though. It's something you do enjoy.
yeah, yeah. I don't think I mentioned that before. So it's obvious if this is a gaming headset and I have a gaming keyboard. The desktop I'm using is a gaming, like it was built custom to work with games.
Are you more a PC, or do you go back to like PlayStation or Xbox?
No, PC gamer. I never had the money, or my parents, like, we never really had the money to get the newest station, but I kind of fell behind on that. Like, I think when PS3 was coming out, I got like I got the I got a GameCube.
Oh,
And I was playing
yes, I almost forgot about
and I
Nintendo.
was playing GameCube games when there was like PS3 or something. And then I got a PS2, and that was like the best because I could play like DDR, and I freaking love DDR. Play like songs on heavy, and like I used to go to the movie theaters.
Yes.
This is kind of on topic, but I used to go to the movie theaters and just play the machine there before they removed it. After a while, they just got rid of it. I don't know why. They probably weren't making enough money off of it because it was like a skill-based game. You couldn't just sit there and shoot things.
Did you ever have like a local arcade that you could just go into and put quarters in after?
It wasn't like super local. It was the movie theater arcade,
Okay.
but that was about a 20-minute drive, and I'd go there anytime I saw a movie. Either before we'd show up like an hour early, or we would like make time after the movies so that I could go and play like DDR or something like that.
Oh wow.
And that was always fun. And yeah, just before we move on to another question, well, actually, no. Continue.
Yeah, it's very interesting. This is really cool. Now that you're in high school, did you have friends around you that were like around the churches, or that were like more opened up spiritually? Did they kind of influence you in which direction you were going in your life?
Well, a friend of mine was really into that kind of stuff. She's not really anymore, but when we recently talked, she started talking about seeing auras and people's energy and stuff. So she's always kind of been like that. She just never really talked about it.
So she
But
was
she
more
was
open to,
she
like,
was always very. Oh
Yes.
no, go ahead.
Was she more open into like the supernatural, like ghost stuff?
Yeah. Yes. We'd always talk about like hauntings and things. I know, and this isn't high school related, but I know that I used to play this game with a friend in elementary where we would pretend that the school was haunted, and we would like go and look for clues, and that was like my funnest, like that was so fun. I don't know why it was so fun, but I was like running around the field and like pretending there were ghosts and things, and she would believe it and I would believe it. Like we would just play this game that wasn't real, but so fun, and like we just make up stories, like fake ghost stories and things. And then I don't know why, but it was just so interesting to me. Like, yeah.
Well, now looking back on it, do you think, even in talking about in high school, do you feel that it kind of prepared you in a way or opened up to handle bigger things out there in the universe?
Yes. I don't know how to answer that.
I mean, if you heard, say, for an existence, for instance, uh, life on other planets, extraterrestrials,
Mm,
ships in the sky, would
yeah.
that would that have been
Oh,
hard to accept?
Ryan, you're blowing my mind. Just hold on. When I was young, I don't know what, okay, I would think about, how much is out there, and I would just have this sense of like I shouldn't be thinking about this. Like there's something wrong with thinking about this, and then I would kind of revert back and not think about it.
So you always had a memory or something, but you just didn't know where to place it.
No, I remember, and this was probably around the time of high school, and I thought I would mention too because you said um now that I'm in high school, but I'm not in high school. I graduated 2 years back. So, and I went to college for like not even half a year, dropped out. And yeah, anyway, well, if you want to ask me about that later on, I will.
Yeah, later.
Uh, yes. So, um, this was, like I said, around high school time. I was getting a drive home from a friend's place, and I think it was their parents driving me. I don't remember, but I was looking up into the sky out the window of the back of their van or something, and I just thought about like where I was looking would just go on infinitely.
Yeah.
I started thinking about that, and I don't know, I had this epiphany moment in the back of this van, and then I just kind of came back and thought like I don't know, Brian. It's just I love that stuff. Like I absolutely love the thoughts of that, like, and knowing that, like, not knowing but just feeling like there is more out there.
Than just this plain earth.
Yes, and it's not plain either. I don't think it's plain, but how dare
Some
you?
do.
This is our home.
Well, some do.
Oh,
Because
maybe, but
people think, okay, that's all there is. You know, you're born.
oh, but
You
it's
do a little bit.
amazing though.
You go
There
through your
is so
life.
much. No,
And
Brian,
after that,
Brian,
you get
no,
old, and then you pass away, and that's it.
this
I
is
mean,
depressing.
well, that's the mentality of some people because there's a lot from that point of view that really believe that, even strongly today.
Mm,
And that's why we call that a little bit more closed. You know, or they haven't experienced that aha moment. You know what I mean? That's something that just
yeah.
allows them to really question. There's got to be more out there than just this. You know,
Hmm.
that's all.
Yeah.
So
I
let's
don't
go
know what to
back.
tell them. I wish for them to find their way.
Let's go back to the epiphany. So you're looking out the window, and also you get that eureka moment. And what's going through your mind? You're like you
That's
start to do research right after you
It's
start.
not a mind thing. It's a feeling inside me that I get that I didn't have before. And I was like, what is this? And why is it coming to me when I think about the space out there? Like,
Yes.
and that I had this connection to something that wasn't in this world, kind of. But I never was pushed. No one ever brought anything up to me. I found it that way. Like, no one said, yeah, Michelle, like, you're this or
Right.
you're that. You're just
You're
experience. Like
curious.
I'm just, hmm?
You're curious.
Yes, yes. That's a thank you. I think so. Anyway,
Curiosity. Yeah.
mm. I was gonna say something, but I forgot because you asked me that question about that moment. But I've had some more that I'd like to share. I just don't know how
Yes.
to
Go ahead.
come up to them. But yeah, I
So
know some parents. Wait, what was that before you said?
some of the let's see, going back. So that or eureka moment, the aha moment, so it's more of a feeling. You could really feel it that there was much more out there. Did you feel that you started to do? Did you even once you had that moment from then on out? Did other things start coming in? Other dreams open up
Mm,
to you, visions. Did you
yeah.
start to do research into the stuff like this, paranormal stuff like that?
Um, I don't remember researching, at least not then, but I have more recently. But around that time is when the dreams started being more vivid in that. And I remember more than once I would be laying in bed and I would start to fall asleep, or my mind would sleep, but my body was awake, and I would kind of like have this. At first, it started as I would just want to go to bed and sleep for the night, and I would wake up all of a sudden like I just came back into myself, and I would feel like I was somewhere else, and I was like, well, where was I? What was that? And then that's when I started searching up dreams, and I found like articles about OBEs.
Out of body
and,
experiences. Yeah.
and yeah, and then that same feeling would come over me when I had that. So I think, yeah, that's when I started opening up about the dreams.
Yes.
And then that's where the dream journaling started and things like that. I would read and watch like videos and articles and things about dreaming, how to lucid dream, how to remember your dreams, things like that. And yeah, that kind of took off. So that's.
Did you share that with anybody else in high school, these things, or,
No.
going through that? Okay, you just kept it
No.
all private. You didn't share that with mom or dad or anybody?
No, I didn't. None of my friends were like, we were super content with our friendships. We didn't need to be like, hey, look at that. Like, I'm special, like, blah, blah, blah. We didn't need that proof or validation, which I loved. But that might not be the case anymore for them or whoever. This is all conceptual.
Yeah, I bet you just loved this, finding the new information out, and just started. I mean, you probably just, once you got into it, it was probably hard to let it go, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, yes. But it was something very real to me because I would have these experiences and I couldn't just talk about them because there was a lot of, well, I think it was like doubt, self-doubt maybe, that anyone would believe, or just doubt coming in from someone else that's like, no, that didn't happen, whatever. Couldn't really put it into words, but I had the feelings. So then I would write about it instead of talk about it. And then I would read it over or come back to it another time and realize things about myself. So
that was my next question. Did you journal?
Mm-hmm.
Journal.
Oh, yes. The first journal I ever started was early into high school, and then way late into after high school and college. And it was just here and there, I'd just write a little bit, and then I would just come back to it. And I never thought it would fill up with words. It just kind of needed a place to write. And then, eventually I went through like this breakup, and things happened in my life that were really painful. And I would come to this journal and write. And then after it was all said and done, I would reflect on the journal entry, and I would just see like this whole side of the story that I never thought about afterward. It was like feeling like this intertwining knowledge came from me, but was coming back to me. And so I just saw it as like this whole other expression and way of, it was almost like I knew I would read it when I wrote it. And then when I read it, I would have like those ahas and those, and I would realize something, and suddenly I would just be taken away by this amazing thing that I did. And I'm like, whoa, well, I don't mean to be like egotistical or like full of myself, but it was fucking amazing. So how can I have more of this? So then I was on this search for like this realization or this aha moment. Like, I need to learn more. I need to make something so I can create something else. And and then I loved learning, and I discovered this part of, and no one told me. I told myself.
Yes.
But then I would read like things online too about like the labels. Okay, this is when the journaling followed by the journaling. Sorry, I would look up things. There was also some new friends I was hanging out with at the time that weren't really good for me, but I was with them just, I think, as a learning process. I don't know. At the time I thought they were, but they weren't. Anyway, blah, 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 blah. 1 sec. Need to breathe because I'm like excited.
I can tell that's what.
Or I just feel excited. Sorry, I don't know if it's my excitement or if it's someone else's excitement.
No, it's wonderful because you're starting to get to the stuff that you really want to share.
Ryan, sorry, you're just so happy. Yes. So I started researching. I saw things online about rainbow, crystal, and indigo children.
Yes.
And then And then what else was I gonna say? I don't remember. But anyway, there was a whole lot on that was just like, wow, okay, so what is this? And I would hang out with people and I would feel like these differences and all this. Oh, and then I would see things about empathing, emotional response, and like all this stuff I read online, but it was like the truth was like scattered and fragmented, and there wasn't a way that I could just read it and trust each word as truth. I knew that the truth was there,
So
but it
you were
was
looking. So were you looking then for some type of validation from other sources, just to kind of give you like, okay, this is more solid.
yes,
Solid. Yeah.
for sure. That's that's a good like wow. Okay, thank you because yes, Brian. But yeah, no, I like refused. Looking back, I refused to label myself as anything. I
Right.
refuse to say, okay, these qualities match what I'm like or how I feel, so I am this. No, because I knew all these people that did that and they weren't allowing themselves to figure out the truth. They were blocking the truth by saying, okay, I'm this. This is what I know. Yeah.
Because
But there's
you're saying it kind of like it conforms and puts us in these boxes, like this is all we are, but we're so much bigger, but yet we're the ones that are labeling ourselves, or other people label us, or we buy into it. So many of us, yes. So you're actually how do you say? Yeah, you didn't want to be put in a box. You didn't want to be how do you say?
just,
Yeah,
yeah, no. Um yeah. That's I didn't want to be put in a box. I didn't want to be labeled as anything, all that stuff. But that I think is necessary too sometimes because you kind of need to do that sometimes. I don't know what example I have to give, but I think that if we stay completely open and like refuse to be anything, then there's too much option, maybe so much that you're overwhelmed and you can't choose. So maybe that's a weird way to look at it, but that was around just the journaling, and that was around the time that I started getting into thinking like, well, what am I? Because I needed to be something, right? So I'm like, am I an indigo? Am I a rainbow? Like what blah, blah, blah. And it was this stupid like time in my life where I felt like a child, but I was an adult, and I'm like, I need to like label myself as something, but it wasn't.
it wasn't so much it was for you, it's for if other people came to you, it's easier to carry on the conversation.
Yeah.
Okay, to say, okay,
And then okay,
this is who I am in a way,
excuse me.
without having something.
That's a little weird, don't you think, though, Brian? Because it's like, hey, nice to meet you. I'm a this. Hello.
Well, for conversation purposes, because sometimes people will come up, they'll say, okay, usually they'll say, okay, where do you work at? What's your job? Are you dating? And stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? It's like they just want to know about you, but yet, especially new people, but your excitement, and you're saying, okay, these are the things I enjoy, but you're right. It's not so much trying to put a label on it and say that I'm just this. It's just really about being in the moment. I guess that's the perfect thing. It's just not have to worry about labels because you're always in the moment and you're not worried and focused on, he said, she said, and how to be. And it's like, like rules,
Oh, yeah.
It's like, whose rules do you live,
My own.
Exactly.
So yeah, that just makes me think about the first journal I wrote, because it's a really good reflective piece that I've done, and I've read through it so much because that's where most of the knowledge of myself came from, and that's when I started having these self-realized times, and then like, okay, so.
Were your journals mostly about your dreams, or were they even about your past? What do you say? Your childhood, or did you mostly stay from your dreams and what the current, the past couple of years?
They were about the dreams, and they weren't like talking about my past. They were more like in the moment. I need to write something down. Journal. And yeah. So just moving on, I think I should mention that there was this time where I dated a guy for 5 years since I was 16, and we were on and off, and it was incredibly Well, to sum it up, because I'm completely like that's so far in my past I don't care anymore. Just summing it up, it was an an experience that I didn't want to have, but I'm glad that I did it because afterwards I learned so much from someone else about how I want to be treated, and my own self-worth came from there. That I was able to see, this is how I was treated. I allowed this to go on for so long that I lost respect for everybody else and myself, myself especially, and that I don't want to be with someone like that ever again. And it was just this
Control issues.
that yes, yes for sure, but it was this narcissism that came out in me from him, that he was very controlling and I was very addicted. But I don't think it was all bad because I just learned so much from it. Afterwards, I wrote, I think six double-sided pages or something about ego. And it was right after the relationship. I felt it was this time where after I dated this guy and after all the thing that I had to do to get rid of him was just an awful act that I wish not to talk about because it's not gonna add on to this discussion.
So no voodoo dolls involved.
No. No, it was nothing like that. No.
Pins and needles,
It was just a lot of emotional abuse. It wasn't, and
verbal.
There was, and at the end it was verbal, but at the end it started getting physical, and that's when I knew like this can't go on.
Right.
And that's when I ended it. Like I still have, there's a part I got like hit and I hit someone and like we got violent and then that's it. But I should stop it there because I think
and even in high school, what was it? So no one else gave you hints, or did any of your friends around you even talk about more and more about the paranormal or ghost or anything like that? Spirit? Did you guys ever get into deep conversations about spirit or anything like that?
I hate to disappoint you, but no, no, that all came afterwards, and is still coming to me currently. Yes. I'm just trying to like talk about the past, just to get out of the way or to inform people about myself more or my life more so than anything else. So, I talk a lot with my hands. I didn't even notice that, but I'm just like going like this when I talk.
No, it's all good. It's all good because it's your self-expression. It helps you to vent, but to get things out of your system in a way. It feels good sometimes just to talk about that and share that, Mm-hmm. Because when we keep it down inside, oh my gosh, it drives us crazy.
Yep, don't do that. Just let it out.
But you felt also through your journals that you could express yourself, even the pain or what you were going through at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And by you go back to your dreams. Do you feel that was the way of your guides, or what we call spirit in a way also, that was connecting with you through your journals, through your dreams?
Yeah. I don't know how else to say this, but it was just my writing would change and I would feel differently about the writing when it changed, and it would be like a voice almost, because it's writing, but it would sound like somebody that was talking to me through my journal. And it was always at the time where I needed it most, like if I would read it over. So that was definitely the first kind of like connection I felt with anything other than what's within me, like something outside of me that was here to guide me or help my journey along properly, because there's just this really big part of my life that I don't get stuck on, but when I think about the past, it's where I go to first. And it was the realization I had after the breakup when I wrote about ego. It was this incredible experience, but it was also very painful. It was this kind of rebirth almost, where something in me died and I felt it. And then I also felt this new part of myself coming through. And it was I call it ego death, and because I just know that's what it was, but I don't know how to explain it. It was just this pain that I cannot explain that was within my heart. I don't know if I should say like chakra or what center. People in the community, anyone watching especially, would know that they say heart center because it's like a center of your being. So that's where I felt the pain, and then for 3-4 days straight, I couldn't sleep, and I had this not sharp, but it was like this aching pain right at the top, like the crown of my head, right here, and it was, I don't know. I felt connected, but I also felt like drained almost. It was like
yeah,
it was very and I. It just it was like an awakening, but I think it sounds stupid when I put it that way. I'm not trying to elaborate. I'm not trying to like make it better than it is, because it's not anything to be proud of. It was a time in my life where a lot of pain came through me, and I learned from the pain to realize, who I am.
Right.
And so, but then it was like, well, what now? And that became very, not depressing, but it was just very negative. It was like, well, what now? What where's my life going? So
right, which direction did you want to go at the time, right after that was over, the breakup?
Yeah. And I just had this time where I sat out, and I had never like meditated before. I just sat out on my roof, and I just breathed, and I didn't think about anything. And then I find myself constantly going back to that place, even though it was just time that I spent to kind of help if there's a problem or I feel stressed or there's an issue. I just think back to that time where I was empty, and I just am able to find myself again. It was almost like I made this place for me. It's no longer physical, but it's within. It's like I don't know.
It's a space that helps you remember who you are, but yet it's like, you're right, it's a learning. You've learned from it, but also, do you feel that even though you went through something like that, if you ran into someone down the road or a friend that needed to help them through it, would it be easier to talk about it now?
Yes.
Would it help to give them guidance so they wouldn't have to choose to go down that road that you went down?
I think so, yeah. And I would just have to address them as is and how they're feeling then and what information they share with me. Then I think I would be able to provide guidance. It just kind of comes through me at the time that I need it too.
Going back to your journaling, the way that you journal, have you ever felt your hands or your fingers twitch and kind of move just slightly a little bit on their own? Do you get like a little bit of, I guess this would be the stages of automatic writing?
Not at first, but yes, later on, especially now, that happens. My hands, I don't think about it. I'm just writing, and it's like I'm witnessing the writing, and I'm not thinking, I'm not anything. It's coming through, and it's words, it's information, it's what I need to hear, or it's just something that I need to get out. And it comes through, and I'm witnessing it. I'm not even thinking about, I'm not thinking,
right,
but my hand is moving, and there's words. So that would be the automatic writing-ish. Yeah. Sometimes it is like I'm thinking and I'm like, okay, then I add another word, then I kind of see what I wrote and keep. That's when I write.
Right.
When I feel my own writing coming through me, whatever. With the journaling, I'm not sure what else you have to ask of, like what. Sorry. Yeah.
No.
Are there any more questions in regards to that?
Yes, it's the flow, and I find this interesting because, believe it or not, there has been at least I think 2 or 3 other channelers. I'm going to say this. That started off automatic writing.
Yep.
Who went into the verbal and started doing the speaking and letting it come through them. The verbal.
Yeah.
The deep trance channeling. And
I think this is just, I wanted to add, I think it was Roxanne who told me, or she told someone else, and I heard it in a video I watched afterwards.
Yes.
When she said she was giving advice to someone who was asking about how do I channel, and she just like, you just fucking do it, like, and it was so funny, but it was just then she started like just talking in this state like, I can't do it now because I'm like, just do it, but yeah, and then I felt like I could after she gave me that advice. I think it's just like speaking from a place that you can just create and make words that happen. You don't think, you don't feel,
You-
you just ah. So I think
Roxy's
everyone could do
brilliant.
that.
She's
Yeah,
brilliant
she's
at it.
she's
It's like
great. Yeah.
right to the point. You know, it's
Yeah.
like do it, and it's really cool. I love that style about her because she does. You're right. She does. It's like a no nonsense. Get out of all your excuses and
Yep.
just you go right to the thing. Even your fears. It's like plow through your fears. You know.
There's nothing stopping you. Just
Yes,
fucking do it.
that's brilliant advice. I like it.
Yep.
Um,
She's great.
with the automatic writing, do you feel that's? I mean, would you label that, or at least the closest terms that you can identify with of that's kind of what it is, what you're doing in a way?
Well, yep. I would say it's definitely just a form of channeling
Yes.
because I don't just with the community, I call it the community, but it's not like it's really anything. It's just the people that have this ideology. We can talk about stuff. If I said a lot of the stuff that any of these people say to anybody else outside of it, they'd be like, "What is this girl on about? What is she fucking talking about? This is crazy." But they kind of understand, and that's what I love about being part of this is you can talk about channeling and avians or see before I go on, I don't know much about the alien names, but I do know like there's these entities and stuff that we call on and all this. So that's just like, you know, we can talk about channeling without there being any we all know what channeling is. Um but yeah, the automatic writing is definitely in the realm of channeling. It's just not verbal, it's not sound, but I feel that it is sound. It's just within the mind when you create. It's like a sound that comes through. And I know when I've seen like genuine, when I've seen the channelers do it, they just it's like a translation, but it's just the sound, and then there's an inner voice channeling through you as this is the information that needs to be portrayed. So that's a
Do
little
you
technicality for you.
do you see that moving toward that, or is it something you even thought about down the road when you're more comfortable, or would you like to stay where you're at, or would you like to maybe eventually allow it to come through the voice?
Yeah, no, I'm definitely open to that. I'm definitely, I feel like I can do that down the road.
Yes.
Or now I'm ready to sort of take the next step. It's just, you know, it's just crazy. Like it's a crazy, it's something that isn't normal. So,
Define normal nowadays.
well, yeah, you're very right. You can't.
No, I like that. I enjoy that. It's something that I've been working on too. It's because I think sometimes we have to take these steps. Sometimes I don't know, you know, for being a man, I think I feel like I have to take more steps, you know, just to get there. Sometimes there's that fear because I do like the control. Sometimes I like the control because I don't know what's going to come through, and that's sometimes it may be the fear of me holding me back. You know. So it's like not knowing who exactly is going to come through or what. You know what I mean? It's kind of
Yeah,
scary. It can be.
I'm sure. I'm sure I can. Yeah.
But I think you're right. I think it comes down to the intention. Making it attention based on what kind of message you want to portray to, and I think whatever you're connecting with, like spirit, you know, it's like you just putting it that intention that you want only you know, the love and light, but also in a way that's gonna keep you grounded and probably balanced. You know what I mean? Without going over the deep end. You know, without going so out there. You know, in the mind.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, no, you're true words, Brian. I don't know what else to add on to that, but it's definitely, yeah.
Is there anything else in the high school years that you would want to share, or you want to move on right after you got out of high school? Were you ready to get out? Were you just ready to?
I wanted to get out, get out of there. I was ready to move on to like, not just better things, but new things. That wasn't the same old, same old. I wanted to go to college. I wanted to get a job, all that. I already had a job at the time. I was McDonald's clerk, working cashier. Like I had like almost 35 hours a week when I worked there. Like they were just working me like crazy, and I would work like too much to the point of exhaustion. I wouldn't be able to go to school because I was like so tired, and it was like, yeah. But that's I'd
Yeah,
like to move on from the high school, if you don't mind.
yeah. I was gonna say, once you get out of high school, now that you're out, the past couple of years, what has it? What sparked your interest now about the spiritual growth, that side? Now that you've been introduced, you had introduction, you've had the eureka moment. What has changed in the past couple of years? What is driving you now? Is it more the arts?
Yes, no, because I do the writing now. I just every day I do something creative. It's just kind of it's like a routine. I need to just you know.
Yes.
But it's what's really driven me to any of this stuff is my need to like just experience more than what's here and now,
Right.
but also stay within the moment to create. Like, hmm, I'm coming from a place of having experience that I don't know how to begin explaining, but it's definitely coming out in its own time. Like, there's a time, there's a place. I started having this thought that everything happens for a reason or something like that. And I never used to think like that. I'm like, well, why is it like this? Like, but it was like I was being guided to my higher purpose and like that stuff.
Or like your soul's unfoldment.
Yes.
That's how you
The
can say it.
first thing that happened was I moved to this apartment last winter. It hasn't been a year yet, but it's almost been. And when I first moved, I was unpacking. We lived at the other place for 11 years. So, and it was like triple the size of this place. And we lived out in the country. And now I'm in the city surrounded by people and cars and buildings. Before it was trees. So, and we're taking all this stuff and unpacking it. So when I first got here, I was unpacking all these boxes and I was finding stuff that I didn't know I had. And okay, so just what started it all pretty much was I found these four crystals that I had. And I don't remember getting them, but I do remember kind of like when I was a child and I picked them out. But it was like I have this memory of them coming to me. Like they're all different. The four of them are different, like 100% different from each other, but they're all like part of me or something. I don't know. They came to me. I didn't come to them. I just chose them as that sounds weird when I okay. They chose me, but I chose them.
Like
Whatever.
the vibration. Got it.
Something. Yeah, like I heard them or whatever. Then I just found them in a box and I was like, can't believe I forgot about these. They weren't part of my life living at the other place, but I think it was like part of okay, it's time to work with these now. And I set them up on my bed. Like I have a bed over and it's in this. There's two rooms in this room.
Right.
Um, and over there's my bed, and I left them up behind my bed. There's like a, I don't know, just trying to. There's a bed and there's a display over the bed
Sure.
and behind the bed frame. They're just up there, and I left them there, and I started just going out for walks, things like that. I'd bring them with me. Not all of them. I'd bring usually one a day or something. Then I noticed how things were just different with them, or like there would be like certain people talk to me when I have a certain one with me, things like that. Then there was one that I would bring with me only on like rainy days. And there's one that I would bring with me when I went to the mall and like things like that. And I just kind of made this weird routine that wasn't always the same. It was constantly changing, but it was just like, and some days I'd bring two with me and yeah. And I didn't really think about them. I just had them with me. And then
Did you feel different having those around you? Did you feel like you could connect more with people, with individuals, or talking with people? Did you feel more empowered?
not, sort of, not empowered, not like,
Confident?
it didn't affect my confidence. I was fine with the confidence, but it did like I remember I had with the bigger one that I have,
Yes.
I gave a compliment to someone and they actually took it. Like I was like, you're you look really pretty. She was not like, it was like all her troubles just left her, and she just smiled, and you could just see the brightness in her smile. She was just like super happy, like she needed that, and I gave it to her right when she needed it, and then that probably made a shift in her life for the better. And so I felt in return a lot better for that, and that came from bringing the crystal. But I don't think that they necessarily make us better or that they do anything for us, because it's all within us. It doesn't matter. It doesn't make you better if you have a crystal. It doesn't make you anything. It's just there, and I think it's an assist in these things of discovering who you are and what you came here to do. Especially if they're ones that you're in tune with or ones that you've spent time with, things like that. And I think I know a lot about them, but I don't really know where to begin. It's kind of like I just dwell into it because I know about it. I'd like to and for anybody watching while I'm in on this, I thought I would mention, I'm willing to have discussions about the crystals, things like that, because I think they're very informative, and they bring forth new knowledge and new ways of thinking. And I want to say states of being, not states of mind, but states of being. And I think, yeah, we can learn from them, but we can also teach them. Yes. Because they're, I'm not sure if it's a belief or not, but they're like a being in themselves. It's just a vibration. I think I go off of the whole, everything in the universe is vibration and frequency. When you see it like that, the crystals are their own object, just like anything, just like a pen, but it's structured more accurately to the divine, not energies, not principles. The structures, like the flower of life and things like that, the mathematical precision that goes into the universal design. And so they're just much more in tune, they're just perfect aspects of that, than when a pen is just matter structured together in a different form. Right. But that's why they're so connectable, and I think that we can have our own, I'm not going to bore you with this, so please ask another question.
No, it's all good. And now especially the past year or two, what got you in also with the arts? I mean, have you always been connected to a spiritual side of art, or just art in general that you're creating?
Yeah, I'd say general, probably. But the spiritual art, I don't know, it's a feeling you have, right? Kind of, do you mind elaborating? Or I don't think you really need to, actually, but
yeah, some of your the things that you've been working on the past year. You said yes. you journal a lot, but also would you like to share some of that?
Yes, for sure. Firstly, off your question that you asked, the spiritual art started when I have a book in front of me here. Let me just, it doesn't have a cover yet, but I will someday kind of paint something on it. It's just a regular book, but it has empty pages in it. Okay. And I saw these, I'm sure anyone watching or some people or whoever saw these videos by some patch man guy, he did spirit science. That's what it is. He did spirit science. So it started with I'd watch those videos, and I watched all of them, and then I drew my own patch man, but it has hair like I did at the time. Wow. And it was rainbowy, and so it started with the book. I drew that, and then I'm well, I'm gonna make my own, this is its own universe or something. And then from there I drew the 4 crystals that I have from a child. These are their forms, but they're different colors and things. Those are my crystals. They are my my whatever, I don't know, but I have a severe connection with them that I cannot explain. So I started drawing, just all of this is just crystals it started with, and then other things would come through that I didn't even just things I'll show that. So I didn't want to make this this long thing about art, and but a lot of this stuff is, I think I've shown this before, just this beauty's on the inside and there's like a weird looking guy there.
Wow.
And so, yeah, this is the more like spiritual stuff. I would write like little sayings, positivity, like let love guide, and you
More
know,
like
like
an affirmation or some type of something
yeah,
where people, when they see that, it reminds them that self-reflection. Yeah.
yes. And then there's like just little things. They don't really have meaning or purpose. They're just there, but I love to create like little just anything like that. So that's where the spirit art started. Then in my journaling, I would of course draw the stuff in my dreams, and then weird symbols and things came through, and I'm like, well, there's definitely a spiritual side to this. I have this view on spirituality that is around the lines of spirituality is not what you are, it is who you are. Like it is embedded in your soul, being, and purpose. It's not anything else. It is just that. So that's how I feel
Oh,
about
beautiful.
spirituality.
It's really beautiful. Your the that kind of expression that you're the medium that you're using through your the arts and stuff. Um, that being said, is there something that the languages or anything like that has that come to you besides just doing the arts? Is that you've
Yep.
heard people speaking the galactic languages and stuff like that? Have you ever when you were younger, did you ever play around with stuff like that or sounds or something, when you were a kid, or did this something more recently?
I think the sounds when I was a kid, yeah, I would just make weird noises and I would just be like beep beep beep, beep or whatever with my mom or my friends, and that was fine. I like noises. I hear like not hear things, but I hear like little noises, like the littlest things just fascinate me. Like the leaves falling or like the water dripping outside is like my favorite sounds. So I definitely think that sound is probably one of the most important things to me.
And
Um,
growing up, especially in your younger years, you're probably really connected to nature, weren't you? You're always outside.
yes, and I used to run around and pretend I was like a butterfly, or my favorite thing to do was pretend I was a bird, and I knew that I was on the ground physically, but I would just with my body feel like I was flying. And I think that, when a child goes into that state of imagination, it's just like dreaming.
Yes.
And so you're like dreaming while you're awake and like flying like a bird, and no one can stop you because you're just being a bird.
Now, did you
And
ever have a special superhero or anything when you were growing up?
yeah, no, Pikachu
Yes.
probably. He's not a superhero, but he's behind me there. There's a few of them probably. Um, so yeah, and I didn't do the languages when I was young, but I definitely do think that I have galactic lifetime, or what's it called? Just
Past lives.
yes, lives that are not human, I guess you would say.
Yes.
But that's I don't think important because I'm here to experience the human experience, right? So
Right, but when you were, like I said, through your dreams and stuff, do you feel that that's your most your times when you can really enjoy those other realms, the other worlds?
mhm, maybe sometimes because there's through the journaling I just know this. I can't really provide any evidence as of now, but I do have the evidence. I mean, I'll just show this now. These are full, all of them, and they're all dreams. And there's more where this came from. There's one on my bed. There's a few all here. So anyway, the realms in that, the dreaming is different a lot. Sometimes it's just, throughout the day there's things that I would normally experience, but it's in the dream. And then other times it's more like I went somewhere else. Almost like physically went somewhere else, but I wasn't because I was asleep. But that's kind of when you travel almost. You travel
So
places.
you tell me your dreams. Are they more? Do you remember them more in detail, like lucid dreaming? Like you can really feel that you're there. I mean, your senses. You take your senses into your touch, smell, taste, feeling, especially the feeling. Do you really look at your hands? Can you see that you're there?
Mm. It's it's very abstract, but it's almost like Yeah, the astral body. Yeah, um, I've drawn it and things like that, and it overlaps. There's constant overlapping, and it's connected to the now almost too. So it's not like I see it, because you don't see in the dream. You project astrally almost, like it's a sense, but it's a sense you don't have in your physical body. It's, the astral eyes, or this sense or smell or things like that. And I think it's just crazy. Like, there's so much I could say about that stuff, and that's definitely the stuff that I want to discuss with people and
Yes.
have open, meaningful
Right.
talks and things.
Yes. Deep conversations. Yes.
Yeah. So, and I think there's this one time that I dreamed, but it wasn't dreaming. It was like this lucidity. I knew I was dreaming, out of body, all that. And I went somewhere else. I think I've already told a few friends this dream, but regardless, my dream state, it was another planet almost. It had very similar structures to ours. There were buildings, excuse me, and there was almost like water, but it wasn't the same substance as water. It was completely different, not physics, because they kind of have to follow like the rules of the universe almost. But it was just different in all aspects. Everything was different, but to them that would be normal, just like our human life is normal to us. When I was there, there were all these projecting beings there, and they weren't part of me. They were separate from me, and so I knew it wasn't just a dream. It was like I'm traveling.
Yes.
So while there, they wanted me to help them with fixing not their planet, but this machine that was part of the world almost, that created balance for the world almost. It was much like a struggle here, so it was relatable to Earth, but it was almost like our worlds are connected, and we need to help this other world to help our own. And we're part of them, and they're part of us, but we're separate. So these beings, they were very humanoid, but they were elongated almost. They felt almost light, like they were just made of light, pure light. But maybe I was seeing the world like, I was just seeing it differently than how they would experience it, maybe. But anyway, they were projecting almost onto this place, and they wanted me to, it's hard to explain now because, okay, well, anyway, it was very crystalline-y looking. I went up this road with this man, or I guess he just was very masculine. I don't know if they have gender there or what, but they were just concerned for their planet, and they wanted me to help. And I know that I just felt this responsibility for them, but I also knew that I couldn't just give up on my human life and like live here astrally and be with them to help their planet. I knew that I needed to come back and that I have responsibilities here on Earth. So I was like, this world isn't somewhere I can stay, but I can be here to help. But it was almost like they lost hope, and I felt that hopelessness with them. So when I woke up, I still remember it as clearly. That's why I'm able to like explain this, but I remember it more as the feeling and the place, not like what they said or did. I'm not sure if that's really in relation, but it's almost like the universe itself as like an expanding place is ever expansive, and so there's so much out there. Any world that is there that is advanced, whatever, it would kind of crowd with ours in the advanced beings of the universe. They would have their own overlapping place, all that. So I just think that it's like the worlds are birthed from Earth. Our place is a possibility sphere, and you can just go in nature and see that it's its own. There's this whole other world that we don't explore as such, fleshy being. Yes. We see like the smallest of rocks in that place, the bugs there, the animals, the leaves that fall, and no one sees them, but they fall. There's this whole other world, and like I think that universes and things can be birthed from these places of like creation almost. I don't know.
Yeah.
That feels almost like I'm channeling that when I say it, because it just comes out, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
It just flows kind of, but I don't think I don't think that.
Like if you see it from a perspective of an ant, they're in a whole nother realm almost,
Mhm.
you know, or the bug's life. But it's like their own little realm of existence. You know, they see it from a perspective, but to them, it's like what we could take a say look in our backyard. To them, it's like a whole world almost. You know, compared to
Yeah.
an ant. So
And
it's like that's their reality. It's like wow, you know, the leaves, the grass, you know, these other insects and stuff. But yet,
Mhm.
from our perspective, we see it's bigger and bigger. You know what I mean? We see a grander perspective
Yeah,
than those other what you call extraterrestrials above. You know what I mean? From other worlds, see even a greater
exactly.
expansive. So it's like it goes a sphere within a sphere. It just it's you're right. It's expansive. It's so expansive.
Exactly, yeah. And then as Earth terms go, we're the most intelligent, but we're not necessarily the most connected and knowledgeable about all this stuff. The animals probably know more about it than we do because they're in a whole other world, even though they're on the same planet. Like crazy. And I've had connections with spirit in the sense of animals coming to me and things.
That's what I was going to ask you next about was your the animal side, the animal
Just
kingdom.
the just
Yeah,
the other day, it's so fresh in my memory, but it's just funny. There were these freaking crows that followed me as soon as I left my house. I was wearing these new boots, and I was just like walking, like I don't know, they were black boots, and I had a leather jacket on. And these crows, they fly by me. There's one up on the power lines. There's one like over by the bus stop where I had to go, and I was crossing the road, and they're just like cawing at me and like being there. And eventually, I just get annoyed because it's like chilling there and it won't leave, and so I just kind of like jump at it, and it gets scared and it goes to fly away, but then it wants to stay and it stays. The guy at the bus stop with me just laughed with me because I tried to scare this crow and it didn't leave me. And yeah, anyway, that was the most recent experience. But I was more annoyed, if anything, because it was like I don't want them there, but they're there anyway. And I think that they're very intelligent for, you know, it when you think of them as like beings, not as like animals, like a body, you know.
have you had them fly over around where you live and you hear them outside? Caw, caw, you know what I mean?
Every morning, not just the crows, but just birds in general. But yeah, there's a place behind my home. You kind of have to walk a little bit, but there's this kind of forestry area, and I go there sometimes just to get away. It's not it's not like really naturey, but it's as naturey as I get without going a long distance. And I go there a lot just to kind of I don't like meditate or anything. I just go there and just breathe and just be in the trees and things. I just smell it just smells good there.
Yes.
And when I'm there, sometimes the birds especially come by and fly and land in nearby trees. And I just feel them there. I don't have to think or see them, or I don't have to look at them and like admire their birdiness. I just have to like kind of feel them. And sometimes they make noise, right? And sometimes it's almost like I can talk to them, not really, but like I think I've had these connections with them before where it's
You
almost
can,
like I know them or they know me or like
like you can tune in to really what they're feeling or something.
yeah, it's a communication that goes on and I think it's kind of funny. Uh
It's a form of telepathy. Yeah.
hmm. And the cats too, like so many of them that live and every time I go for a walk I see them and they're just out on a walk too and sometimes not often but there's been a few times mostly recently the cat will stop and want me to pet it and I'll just be like kitty and like pet it and it just like lets me and then I gotta go and it almost looks disappointed when I leave like no please keep petting me and they're just so nice animals. They don't judge, they don't have that programming, like they don't get conditioned like human beings do to like judge people or anything. They just have this open aspect that everything they just have a better understanding of the interconnections. So when they see a person, they're like, well, why can't I interact and just be like be friendly? Like and they just do that without thinking about it, you know?
Yes.
And it's not like they have language, but they have a form of communication. They have thought, but they don't they don't formulate it in words like how we understand each other as human beings. And I feel like, you know, language almost isn't necessary. And I think I just know that somewhere in my past or something, I don't use words because it's almost like it's not natural to me to talk. So when I'm with any animal, it's just, I feel right. I can communicate with thought, and I don't have to think or wait, that's completely contradiction.
No.
But
Like you don't have to use your the tones, the sounds from your voice.
yeah.
It's like an inner knowingness and a feeling. It's more of a deep feeling, in the form it's telepathy. Yeah, interesting.
So I think I have a natural connection with the animals. So,
Nice.
and I hadn't always thought I had that, but the earliest memory I have, well, not just the salamander one that I mentioned, but I went out to the wharf down my
Fishing, where you fished.
where I fish, yeah, and there was a dragonfly sitting on the wharf wood, and I just looked at it, and I remember I wanted to either catch it or take a picture of it or something. So I ran back up to my house with, I don't remember what it's escaped me. But when I came back, the dragonfly was gone, but the memory remained, and I just remembered the image of the dragonfly, and I have a very visual memory. I remember images and things, and I see them in my mind. It's just,
Yes.
I think I've called it photographic memory, but I don't think it really matters because everyone kind of has that. But yeah, it's almost like I take snapshots of my life, and I just remember like photographs almost, but they're just real life moments.
You understand what you're saying. If you go back to a point like if you remember sometimes like who you're communicating with at that time when say you're 8 or 9 or 10, or if you remember sometimes what shirt you're wearing, or you remember someone saying what you're talking about, you have that snapshots where you only have to remember the image, and then it starts to explain a story behind it.
Yeah, almost. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense, actually. Yeah.
Interesting.
Thank you.
So here you are with your work now, your artwork, and
Yes. Let's talk about the artwork.
go into your artwork now. What's the most, say, the past year or the most recent stuff that you would love to share with the viewers out there?
Well, okay. I was drawing dragons lately, so wanted to share a few
And
of
what
these.
got you interested in? What got you curious about dragons?
I don't I don't have an answer. I'm sorry. I don't know. I don't know why I know, or like I don't know. I don't have a reason.
Friend of a friend of a friend who don't know.
No, I just did it. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I just did it, and I don't have like, I'm thinking, but it's like there's no time where I was just like, yeah, dragons are cool, so I'm gonna draw them. I was just I started drawing, and it became a dragon. That's kind of how when I make something, I just start, and then whatever it starts to look like, and then I turn it into things, or I'll like imagine something, then draw what I'm imagining.
Do
That's
you
pretty
see
much
it really clearly in your mind before you start drawing it?
Not always. Sometimes, yes, I have an idea, and I'm like, I'm gonna turn this into reality. I'm gonna make this a real thing. And sometimes it's the form I create, and then that form turns into something else. It's I think in some ways it's almost dropping books. It's almost like, oh, sorry.
Is it like an automatic writing for even for the drawing, or automatic drawing?
Not always, but I do feel like that's something that I've done before, that anyone drawing can kind of do. You tap into this place where you just it flows. I call it the flow state because it's at this peak performance time when I create like my best. And I feel like it's also, I do some music too, but it's more in my free time, and I don't like show it or talk about it, but I go to this venue place called The Spot, which I thought I'd mention before I continue with the art. And they do music and artist stuff. That's where those leaves that I posted on my profile, that's where, that came from. A lady there was doing those and was like, let's make leaf art. So we go there and everyone shares their ideas and does that. And I go into this state of mind where everything just happens. Like, it's almost like an elevated sense of consciousness or something, where my time and my space intertwine into, like, it's just everything is happening like super fast, but also at a slow pace. Time, I think I'm just trying to like relate it to how time seems almost like
Yes.
it's moving faster or even slower sometimes. I don't know. But
Yeah. Yes.
yeah. And so I did that when I started playing the drums. I just went into the flow state and started, and I would just go off of what I was listening and how I was feeling with the people playing guitar and singing. And I would just tune into what they were doing. And I created like music that I never knew I could do.
Wow.
So that's just like, and I'm even surprised myself because I didn't know I could do that until I did it. And then I was like wowing, I was like in awe at my own ability, and so were the other people there. They were like smiling and like super excited for me because I never done that, and they could see that I was new to the music that I
Nice.
was creating, yet I was creating so effortlessly. And then this one guy that was there, excuse me, he plays like guitar, bass, and he just plays a lot of instruments. And he was playing like one of the drums with like beside me, and he's like, "Wow, you're even better than me." And I heard that, I was like, "This guy's been playing since he was like a kid, and I've never played this before in my life, and I'm already like better." But yeah, I think there's still like you still have to practice. You can't just like enter this state and be like, "Yeah, badass."
Don't you wish it would be that simple though?
Yeah.
That'd be fun, wouldn't it? I mean, just have your past lifetimes, your abilities all come back, and you're just that Mozart, and you're playing the piano, and then you could be like that Vincent Van Gogh, and you're painting. I mean, come on, this would be so cool, wouldn't it? But it's
But
beautiful, your expressions. Yes.
mm. And when you said that, it was almost like that though. It was almost like I was tapping into the past or something to like create from. I don't know.
Yes.
I say I don't know, but I know exactly what I mean.
There
It's
is in the soul memory. There is what you call. It's there. You have to tap into it, but it doesn't come as fast as we want it sometimes. You know what I mean? It's that creative part of us, but the more that we do it, the memory comes back in a way, and you start to let it flow. Like you said, you get into that flow, and parts of it starts to flow through. It kind of bleeds over.
yes.
Comes back into this lifetime where you can pull some of that from the Akash. You're pulling it back into this lifetime, and you get to play with it.
That's yes. That's probably exactly what happened. Like I just found that place in my and then I yeah. So anyway,
Let's see some of this. Yes.
yeah, so that was on the music aspect, but the dragons, I think I showed this one in the chat before. It's
Right there.
just one
Wow.
that I spend a lot of time doing like the scales. And yeah, I'm still, novice when it comes to the artwork, but then there's another one that is in the process. I kind of like when I started, I liked it. Then afterwards, I kind of was like, no, I'm not really feeling this anymore. Maybe I'll come back another time. And it's just, I find that a lot of my work is
Yeah.
just, it's like powerful almost. And I
Yeah.
just have this, I don't know, but I love art. I love creating things, and there's also that aspect of, like I made this. This is mine. Like, look at it. It's so awesome. And I'm super proud of,
On average, how long does it take you, just for, like, say, those dragons, those two pictures of the dragons? How long did it take you from start to finish? Are this just a matter of hours? Is it a matter of a couple of days that you're taking the time with the detail? How fast can you draw those?
I think it's only, well, it's probably a couple of hours I put into each of them.
Yes.
And sometimes it'll be like a couple days if I want to return to them. Because I think that when you do that, it expands the drawing more. It's not just all in condensed time where you make like one piece. Afterwards, it's like if you keep returning to it, then there's more substance. Because the first drawing there, it did only take me like maybe 2 hours total,
Yes.
but I returned to it. Like I would come back and forth, every day, and just like add scales, work on it 20 minutes. And then at the end, I would just put the last hour into it. And then it was just done. I don't think of it as like, well, anyway, yeah.
From some of your journals, have you ever, from your stories and from your journals and from your dreams, have you drawn some pictures, like illustrations from those?
I think so. Yeah. As I think I might have mentioned it earlier. I have like, there were times where I would dream and it was almost like I couldn't just explain it in writing, what it looked like or how it felt or what I was dreaming. I had to kind of add some imagery in order to explain it.
Or
So that like
yeah, symbols.
the symbols too, yeah. And there was a time where I dreamed and it was like I sat in a chair and I closed my eyes and I saw these people within my mind, but I needed to explain it in a way so that when I looked back on the journal, I wasn't like confused. So I drew a picture of myself sitting in a chair, and then there was like a thought bubble extending from my head that had the image within my mind. So it was like I was going outside of myself, viewing myself, drawing that, and then so when I look back on it, I understood it more so than if I was just reading words. Because sometimes language, or not always, but the language isn't always enough to portray what happened truthfully.
Right.
So, yeah. And so I'm not going to like I'm not going to spend time like looking through for things to show, but this is when I, when I have a realization on my journals, I put like a little, like not star. It started becoming stars. Like I found stickers because I'm like, this happens too often to just ignore. So I started putting stars on them. But at first it was like I discovered my power, so I wrote like power at the top. Nice. And this is that entry. It was funny. I just flipped right to it. I didn't have to search. That's like I have my dream written, but then I have. This is the thing that I was saying, like, that's how I explained what I was seeing is by doing that. And then
it gives you that imagery, the symbols, because once you have that in the mind, it's like, boom, it can take you right back to that dream or that vision.
Mm-hmm.
And the detail too, it just starts flooding back.
And then the next part of the dream, like, there was a place where I went in this really deep golden room place, and it was like there was all these rooms that I would just go into, and at the bottom there was a room made of gold. And so thing is, I was dreaming and but I was awake in my dream, sitting in a chair with my eyes closed, deeply in another dream while I was dreaming, but I was aware of this. So it was like this lucidity.
A dream within a dream. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was completely fine. It was normal for me to do that. It was like I knew what I was doing and I needed to do that. Excuse me. And the second part, I'll just show this real quick, is I'm still in that chair, and this is like when the like those rooms that I just said. Mm-hmm. It might be hard to see, but I'm
right there.
Yeah. Oh, and I'm sitting in the chair and I'm looking within myself to see this map of this room, but then there's another aspect of me like in the room. I don't know, but it was like I was seeing this visual representation of like where I was going or where I was while I was sitting in a chair. And yeah, anyway, this is from the first book that I wrote, which started as dream journals, kind of added on about ego and things, and that's where it took off. There was this one. I'd like to just go over this really quickly, get it out of the way. Okay. Damn it. The one that fell earlier. So the first book, and then I decided to go for a smaller one, the second book. And then I was like, this is now a thing that I'm going to be writing in. The third book went right back to a bigger one.
Wow.
The fourth book went over to a smaller one, and that was when I started doing the crystal work and the realization started being more frequent. So I already went through most of this one. But what's weird is the third one I've barely read over because I don't feel like it's time. Maybe. I don't know. The book itself has like emotion, you know?
Yes.
I don't know if you... Okay, well, anyway. Then I think that's the fifth one. It's green. That was the last one I wrote. Then I moved to smaller journals, and they're all scattered elsewhere, and I'm writing in those dreams and things. So those are the main ones that I have. And still, yeah.
Are they more of just individual stories, or do you see it coming together as something bigger than that? More of like past lifetimes, interaction on other worlds? Is it just to help awaken you?
There's the past life stuff is a little iffy because I know that it's there, but it's just, I don't know, because I for some reason feel like I've lived before, but not necessarily as a human being. I don't know. It
Yes.
feels almost like either my first life or like my 1000th life, but it's almost like I'm living both of them at the same time. Like my writing is another aspect of what my life is and has
I
become.
see you saying a parallel life. Like it's
Mm,
going on at the same time, is what you're saying.
yes, and I don't know how to begin. And I know I say I don't know a lot because it's very
No, I mean,
abstract.
it makes
Yeah.
very good sense. I mean, from my, I do understand what you're saying.
Okay.
What you're saying is, if I can refresh, that simultaneously, I can't get this word in, but I think I said it right. That here you are, Michelle, in this lifetime, third dimensional, but yet another aspect of you from a parallel reality on another world is having their that incarnational experience, but yet you're sharing maybe like the same soul essence.
I couldn't have put it better myself. That definitely sounds right. Yeah, and
Interesting.
it just comes through, and it's like okay, there's not really like you can't really be like wow, like woo, awesome, because
Right.
it's just kind of like it's fine. Like
Yes. So you're pulling in sometimes these gifts or these abilities from your parallel lives and past lifetimes into the now, the moment. So you can pull that anchor in, is what I guess is the best way, is anchoring those abilities in your artistic abilities and all this. It's like your expression, that you're not just expressing you, you're expressing more of a collective too.
that is true. Awesome, awesome, Brian. Because there's so much to it. There is so much, and it's not easily. It just is.
You
You
can't
know.
really define it either.
No,
Yeah,
and it shouldn't be defined.
exactly. Exactly.
Yay! I'm glad you said all that because it's just a great way to really put it into perspective because otherwise I would just be searching for the right term, but
But it probably feels like that for you too. You're feeling it like, where's all this coming from? And it's like, through your visions, they're giving you, so through your connections with your projections, you do tap into those other realms. But yet you realize that if there's really no time, then you're simultaneous. How do you say that? Thank
simultaneously.
you. I have a hard time with these big words. And you get to express that in a way that starts to at least make some sense.
Yes.
Brings it down and grounds it to the earth realm.
Hmm.
You know. You're right. The labels, just throw that to the side because it's really, we're dynamic. We're not static. We're not standing still. We're just, our ideas are always moving, always shaping us, shifting us into what's in the moment. So your creativity is coming from all over the place, not just one. So I guess there's really no random thoughts, are they?
Nope. I'm pretty sure that every thought I have is my own created feeling based. Like it's all from. There's no just random things that come to me, and I'm like, yeah, like, yeah. So there is no random aspect of it.
That's cool.
Definitely. It's crazy how logical it all is, though. How just concrete and real it is, but also so creative and flowy. It's like this. I just
Yes.
love it.
And that's sometimes it's like when we speak with other people, the average human being, it's like, okay, how do you explain that in a way that can be way out there, these concepts, and bring it down to where people can truly appreciate what's being said? What you're going through, your experiences. They can be challenging sometimes.
Yeah, and I want as a goal to be able to do that, to bring
Yes.
it more down to just an easier understanding that everyone can comprehend.
And appreciate. Yeah.
That's yeah, that especially appreciation of it, the truth of it. There's no other way to really put that as if there's the truth presented, then you definitely have to have that not just appreciation. I'm thinking of just having respect for what it is as it is. If you understand it, then you just have to give your respect. You can't be with anything else but the respect of it. And all life is precious. Even I'm not sure where I'm going with that, but it's
No, it's
definitely a start.
gratitude. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yes.
Yes. Move toward. Is there anything else that you would like to share that you have not already? Is there anything that you wanted to, any other your arts that you would like to show before we start to wrap this up a little?
Yes. Quickly, just a few more things that I wanted to say. The books that I write, the physical books, I wanted to someday get published. And there's a few here that I had done. They're all completed. I'm not sure. I won't show them. I don't feel like I should, but there's one here that I'm completed with. And it started as really nothing. And I think I've shown this. Oops. Stuff is swelling. But anyway, it's just a book with a shiny cover. It's the first one that I did. And oops. So I don't know what that is. I think it was just nothing I'm proud of. Then there's a marijuana leaf, because I think that the aspect of cannabis and that is definitely another, not realm, but something that deserves attention and exploration, since it is another way to expand the mind. And I'm very interested in those chemical-based things and experiences, such as, for some reason, DMT as well, because it's something that's secreted when you sleep and when you die. So it's definitely connecting your brain or yourself to another realm. And I've heard of their experiences of seeing these things when they're on this drug. So anyway, and marijuana too, I've had some rather disturbing experiences, but also some informative experiences that I won't get into on this interview, because I feel like it's definitely worth a discussion, but it's not time to speak of that. But it's something I really want to open up and share, definitely. But yeah, it started out as kind of an exploration of where I could be taken in regards to that vibration that the plant has. So it's just writing, right?
Go back to the DMT. Is that the dimethyltryptamine?
I think so, yes.
Sounds more. DMT, dimethyltryptamine. I think it is.
Yep.
Okay, interesting.
I haven't had an experience with that yet, but I feel like I will. And it's hard to explain, but it's like I've seen dreams where I'm taking this drug as a means to feel or experience my higher beingness come through me in a more visual experience, because there's other drugs that don't give you the visualized version. It's a feeling based. But yeah, and marijuana, things like that. They definitely connect you, and I've had more. I don't know. It's more of an earth grounding thing for me, but it's mostly because you're taking on the vibration of it, even when you hold a rock or when you
or crystal or something. Yes,
exactly. So it's like that almost.
Yes.
There's not much else I can really go on about that, but yes.
Yeah. So that book right there, is that was just the journals, like your most recent entries?
Nope. These ones are timeless entries. I call them timeless because a lot of my entries, they're from a place that is theoretically outside of time, writing within time.
Yes.
So, and I see it like that often, but anyway, I don't really know. I think it's a seed. I think that's the star seed idea. And from there was writing about planting seeds and growing like a forest of thought in this. This book is just about that exploration, the exploration of consciousness. But what happened was I ended up reading over it, and a lot of the words kind of connected to the energy centers or something. So what I did is I felt like it needed to be elaborated more on. So I took colors and I wrote the book in color. So I don't know, it's like the words and language don't matter, but when you read it, your eyes have color on them because the words are in color almost. So maybe someone who needs the information will read it in color and it will connect them more to the truth, because I feel like the energies involved with the so-called crystal and rainbow children are in relation to light and how vibration relates to feeling. And so when they're feeling disconnected, they can return to a place of knowing by viewing a word and a meaning in color. It's
Yes.
almost like coding.
It's something their minds can grasp.
Yeah. And they don't have to think about it. They just read. And because their eyes, they don't think about the color that the word's in. They think about the words and the meaning. But then their eyes are overlaid on the color and then they see it and they just feel the truth in it. I don't know.
Yes. It's almost like a form of autism.
I'm I'm not sure.
Well, I know many more children are they're born with autistic or autism is what you would call crystalline indigo. But,
Oh, yeah.
but I see it from a different perspective. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very interesting. It doesn't necessarily mean they're autistic. It's just trying to get like a feel like when you talk to a certain autistic child, sometimes they don't react in the way that you think that they should or whatever. They learn. They're conceptual learners. They might learn a different way than the average 3D human.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They feel different. They can feel things from a different point of view, a different perspective. They take in information differently. They process it differently, is what I meant.
Yeah, and I think that's something that definitely today and age, the children being born, they're very different. So they're automatically, going off of our past and how to kind of just relate, to put the kid in a box almost. They have this, they have ADHD, they have autism, they have whatever it is. I heard a lot of that on the radio recently too, that there's kids being diagnosed. There's more kids being diagnosed with autism than ever before because they see the doctors and then they're so different than any of the children they've dealt with before, and they can't really find an explanation. So they say it's this or that. So, and ADHD too, because that's just something. And then they go on medication and it's just like something else to prevent them, just, yeah. So
I understand.
Yeah.
Wow, this is time's flying. This is amazing. You've had 2 hours.
Yeah, so it's about time to wrap this up then.
How can people get a hold of you? Like, what would you like to just present or put out there?
So you can get a hold of me, especially on my Google Plus page, Michelle Caswell. I have a Twitter account that if you wanted to keep up with me, it's at Michelle Caswell, no spaces. And I have my Instagram too, which I'm kind of just adding to mostly as it comes. You can contact me there at Naturally Michelle. I think it's going to be in the description of this video if you want to go there. And yeah, I think that's it for now until someday maybe I have a website or something.
No, this is beautiful. I wanted to let everyone know this has been Grant. This has been nice just to get a feel of who Michelle is behind the scenes and and who you are. Your personality is beautiful.
Nice. Well, thanks for having me, Brian.
Thank you very much. And I guess that'll be a wrap. So thank you.
Yeah.
And I'll let you say the last words, Michelle.
You are all awesome motherfuckers. So.
Love it. All right. Take care, everybody. Bye.